Tay stood in front of the massive window looking out at the stars. He had never been this far from Earth before. The space station was enormous, bigger than any building he had ever seen back home in Seoul. Everything here was clean and bright, so different from the dark shelters underground where he grew up. "First time in space?" a voice asked behind him. Tay turned around. A woman in a white uniform smiled at him. She had kind eyes and spoke in Korean, which made him feel a little less alone. "Yes," Tay said quietly. "I'm Tay from Earth." "I know who you are," the woman said. "I'm Suji. I work in the medical center here." "I'm human too. Been here for 3 years now." Tay felt relief wash over him. Another human. Someone who would understand. "Is it difficult here?" he asked. Suji's smile faded a little. "It can be. The aliens don't really understand us yet. They think Earth is a dangerous place, which it is. But they don't understand what that means for us. Just be careful, okay? And if you need anything, come find me." Before Tay could ask what she meant, an announcement echoed through the corridor. All new students needed to report to the dormitory wing. Suji squeezed his shoulder and pointed him in the right direction. The dormitory was unlike anything Tay expected. The halls were wide and tall, built for species of all different sizes. Some doors were huge, meant for creatures twice his height. Others were small, barely reaching his waist. Tay found his assigned room and pressed his hand against the panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the room was simple: a bedded desk and a storage unit. Everything was adjustable, designed to fit whatever species needed it. Tay set down his single bag and sat on the bed. It was too soft. He would have to fix that later. "You're the human?" Tay looked up. 3 aliens stood in his doorway. They were tall, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms each. Their eyes were large and dark, positioned on the sides of their heads like prey animals from Earth. But the way they looked at him didn't seem friendly. "Yes," Tay said, standing up slowly. "I'm Tay." "Tay," the one in front repeated, his mouth struggling with the simple name. "I am Quex. These are my friends. We heard a human was coming. We wanted to see what you looked like." The 3 of them stared at Tay for a long moment. Tay stood still, keeping his face neutral. His father had taught him that when you meet something new, you stay calm and quiet until you understand it. "You're small," one of the others said. "I thought Deathworld creatures would be bigger." "Deathworlders are supposed to be scary," the third one added. "You just look normal." Quex laughed, a sound like clicking stones. "Maybe the stories are wrong. Maybe humans are just lucky animals who happen to survive on a dangerous planet." Tay said nothing. He had heard worse things before. Back on Earth in the shelters, people said all kinds of things to each other when they were scared or angry. Words didn't hurt him. "No response?" Quex stepped closer. "Are you stupid? Do you even understand Galactic Standard?" "I understand," Tay said softly. "Nice to meet you." The 3 aliens looked at each other and laughed again. Then they left, their voices echoing down the hallway as they made jokes about the quiet human. Tay closed his door and sat back down on his bed. His hands were steady, his breathing calm, but inside he felt tired already. This was going to be a long year. The next morning, Tay went to his first class. It was galactic history, taught by an old alien who looked like a floating jellyfish. The classroom was arranged in a circle, with seats of different sizes and heights. Tay found one that fit him and sat down. More students filtered in. Tay recognized some of the species from his study materials. There were the Velcrin, like Quex and his friends. There were small, furry creatures called Pixin who chirped when they talked. There were tall, thin beings made of something that looked like living crystal. And there in the back was another human. Tay's heart jumped. The woman caught his eye and gave him a small nod. She had short black hair and wore glasses, even though Tay knew humans didn't need them anymore for vision. Maybe they were a fashion choice, or maybe she was from an older generation. After class, Tay tried to reach her, but she was already gone. He would have to find her later. The days began to blur together. Tay went to his classes, studied in his room, and ate alone in the cafeteria. The food was strange but edible. Nothing tasted quite right, but his body could handle it. Humans could eat almost anything. Another gift from Earth's harsh environment. Quex and his friends appeared often. They would make comments when they passed him in the halls. Little things. Calling him lucky animal or soft deathworlder. They would stand too close, using their height to loom over him. They would touch his things without permission, moving his datapad or taking his seat. Tay never responded. He would wait patiently until they got bored and left. Then he would continue whatever he was doing, as if nothing had happened. One evening, Tay went to the station's exercise facility. He needed to keep his body strong. The gym was mostly empty, which was good. He didn't want to draw attention. Tay loaded weights onto a bar. The amount would have been impossible for most species here, but for a human from Earth it was normal. Earth's gravity was heavier than most planets. Earth's air was thicker. Everything on Earth was harder, and so humans had to be stronger just to survive. He was halfway through his routine when he heard that clicking laugh again. "Look at this," Quek said, walking over with his friends. "The human thinks he's strong." Tay set down the weight bar carefully and stood up. Sweat ran down his face, but his breathing was steady. "That's too much weight for you," Quex continued. "You'll hurt yourself. Maybe you should use the children's equipment." The other Velcrin laughed. Tay picked up his towel and wiped his face. "Thank you for your concern," he said quietly. "But I'm fine. Are you?" Quex reached out with one of his forearms and pushed Tay's shoulder. Not hard, but enough to make his point. "You seem weak to me." Tay's jaw tightened, but his face remained calm. Every muscle in his body wanted to move, to react, to defend. But he held still. His father's voice echoed in his memory. "The strongest person is the one who can choose not to fight." "I should go," Tay said. He picked up his water bottle and walked toward the exit. Behind him, he heard Quek say something to his friends in their own language. They all laughed again, louder this time. That night, Tay lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling. The station's artificial lights dimmed to simulate night, but Tay couldn't sleep. He thought about home, about the underground shelters where humans lived, pressed together in the dark, about his younger brother Jin, who had begged to come with him. "You're going to see the stars," Jin had said. "You're going to meet aliens and learn amazing things." Tay closed his eyes. Yes, he was meeting aliens. But the amazing things he was learning were not what Jin imagined. His comm device buzzed. A message appeared on the screen. It was from Suji. "I heard what happened in the gym. Are you okay? Remember what I said. Be careful." Tay typed back a simple response. "I'm fine. Thank you." But as he lay in the dark, Tay wondered how long fine would last. 3 weeks passed and things got worse. It started small. Tay would return to his room and find his belongings moved. His data pad would be on the wrong side of the desk. His clothes would be scattered on the floor. Once he found all his food supplies thrown in the recycling unit. He never complained. He simply cleaned up and continued with his day. In classes, Quex and his friends sat behind Tay. They would whisper just loud enough for him to hear. Comments about humans being primitive. Jokes about Earth being a dirty rock full of stupid creatures. Questions about whether Tai even understood the lessons since humans were barely civilized. Tay took notes and ignored them. His grades were perfect. He excelled in every subject, especially the survival scenarios and tactical analysis. The instructors praised his work, which only made Quex angrier. "Teacher's pet," one of Quex's friends hissed during xenobiology class. "Trying to make us look bad." Tay said nothing. He submitted his assignment and left the classroom. The cafeteria became a problem too. Quex's group had claimed a large table near the food stations. Whenever Tay walked past, they would stretch out their multiple arms, blocking his path. He would have to walk around carrying his tray the long way. Other students noticed but did nothing. The Velcrin were popular, from a powerful species in the Galactic Council. Nobody wanted to make them angry. Except for one person. "You can sit with me," the other human woman said one day. She was sitting alone at a small table in the corner. "I'm Hana. I work in the research department." Tay sat down gratefully. "Thank you." "I'm Tay." "I know," Hana said. She pushed her glasses up her nose. "I've been documenting what they're doing to you." "The harassment? I have recordings." Tay looked up, surprised. "Recordings?" "Video from the public areas. Audio from the corridors. I submitted a report to station administration 2 days ago." Hana's face was serious. "They told me it was just cultural differences and that everyone needs time to adjust." "Cultural differences," Tay repeated quietly. "That's what they said." Hana stabbed at her food with her fork. "They don't understand. They think because you're quiet, you're okay with it. They think because you don't fight back, it's not serious." Tay ate slowly, thinking, "What should I do?" "I don't know," Hana admitted. Suji and I have been talking about it. We're worried. The Velkrin don't know what humans are really capable of. They think you're weak because you don't respond. But we know better. I don't want to hurt anyone, Tay said. I know, but they might not give you a choice. Hana leaned forward, her voice dropping. Just promise me something. If it gets physical, really physical, protect yourself. Don't let them hurt you just because you're trying to be peaceful. Tay nodded slowly. I promise. That afternoon, Tay had combat training class. It was supposed to teach students basic self-defense techniques for their species. The instructor, a massive alien covered in natural armor plates, divided them into groups. Today we practice zero-gravity maneuvers, the instructor announced. You will pair up and attempt to disable your opponent's mobility in the simulation chamber. Tay was paired with a small Pixen student who barely reached his knee. The exercise was simple and safe. They both did well, but when they left the simulation chamber, Tay noticed his equipment pack was gone. He looked around and saw Quex holding it, tossing it between his 4 hands. Looking for this? Quex asked. Yes, Tay said. That's mine, is it? Quex examined the pack. I don't see your name on it. It's mine, Tay repeated. He walked toward Quex, hand extended. Please give it back. Quex's 3 friends moved to stand beside him, forming a wall. Maybe we should check what's inside first. Make sure you're not carrying anything dangerous. After all, you're from a Deathworld. The instructor had already left. The other students were filing out, carefully not looking at what was happening. Nobody wanted to get involved. Quex opened the pack and dumped its contents on the floor. Tay's personal items scattered across the ground. His comm device, his water bottle, a small photo of his brother Jin. Oops, Quex said, that clicking laugh in his voice. How clumsy of me. Tay knelt down and began picking up his things. His movements were slow and careful. His hands didn't shake. Inside his chest, his heart beat steady and strong the way it always did. Humans had hearts that could keep beating even under extreme stress. Another gift from Earth. One of Quex's friends stepped forward and placed his foot on the photo of Jin. What's this? Your family? My brother, Tay said quietly. He looks weak too. The Velkrin pressed down harder. Maybe it runs in your species. Tay's fingers tightened on his water bottle. For just a moment, his control wavered. His body knew what to do. His muscles knew exactly how to move, how to strike, how to disable the threat in front of him. The training from Earth's military defense program was still there, buried in his reflexes. But he breathed slowly and let it pass. He carefully slid the photo out from under the alien's foot and placed it in his pack. Thank you, he said, standing up. He walked away, leaving them behind. He heard Quex say something in Velkrin language. All 4 of them laughed. That evening, Suji came to his room. She didn't knock, just pressed the emergency override that all medical staff had. She found Tay sitting on his bed, staring at the photo of his brother. Hana told me what happened, Suji said. She sat down beside him. Are you okay? I'm fine, Tay said. He set the photo on his desk, positioning it carefully so Jin's smiling face looked toward him. You don't look fine. I don't know what else to do, Tay admitted. I follow all the rules. I'm polite. I don't fight back, but they keep pushing. Suji was quiet for a long moment. When I first came here, I thought the same thing. I thought if I was just nice enough, patient enough, they would accept us. But some species don't understand patience. They see it as weakness. What did you do? I established boundaries firmly, not violently, but clearly. Suji looked at him with serious eyes. The problem is, Tay, you're young. You're a student. You have less authority than I do. And the Velkrin have more social power than either of us. So I just have to endure it? I didn't say that. Suji stood up and walked to the window. I'm saying be smart, document everything. Keep Hana's recordings as backup. And if they cross a line, a real line, you defend yourself. Understand? Tay nodded. Get some sleep, Suji said. Tomorrow is another day. But tomorrow was not better. It was worse. In his morning class, Tay found that someone had corrupted his assignment files. A project he had spent 2 weeks on was gone, deleted from the system. He would have to start over. At lunch, Quex accidentally bumped into him, sending Tay's tray flying. Food splattered across Tay's uniform. In the library, Quex's friends surrounded his study table and talked loudly, making it impossible to concentrate. And through it all, Tay remained quiet, His face stayed calm. His voice stayed soft. But inside, something was building. Not anger exactly. Humans didn't get angry the way some species did, with hot rage that burned out quickly. Humans got cold, focused, their bodies prepared for survival, for the long fight, for doing what was necessary. On the station's observation deck that night, Tay found Hana looking at Earth through the telescope. "It's beautiful from here," she said without turning around. "You can't see the storms or the predators or the diseases. Just a pretty blue planet." "Yes," Tay agreed. "They're going to keep pushing," Hana said. "I submitted another report today. Showed them the footage of what happened in combat class. Administration said they would look into it. That means they'll do nothing. Probably." Hana finally looked at him. "There's a station-wide assembly in 2 days. Everyone will be there. I have a feeling something is going to happen." Tay looked back at Earth, at the planet that made him what he was. Strong, patient, dangerous when necessary. "I hope you're wrong," he said. But he knew she wasn't. The day of the assembly arrived. The grand hall was massive, built to hold thousands of students and staff from hundreds of species. The ceiling stretched up so high that Tay couldn't see the top. Screens floated in the air, showing the stage from different angles so everyone could see. Tay arrived early and found a seat near the middle. He sat down quietly, folding his hands in his lap. Around him, other students filtered in, talking and laughing. The hall filled with sounds in dozens of languages, creating a strange music of clicks, whistles, and words. The assembly was supposed to be about upcoming events, academic competitions, cultural festivals, and diplomatic visits. Tay had read the schedule that morning. It should be boring and safe. But when Quex and his 3 friends entered the hall, they looked directly at Tay, and they smiled. Tay felt his stomach tighten. He kept his face neutral, but his body was already preparing. His heart rate dropped slightly, becoming more efficient. His muscles relaxed, ready to move if needed. His breathing deepened. All automatic responses built into him by generations of humans surviving on Earth. The Velcrin didn't sit down. They walked straight to Tay's row and positioned themselves around him. Quex sat directly behind him. The other 3 spread out, one on each side and one in front. "Hello, human," Quex said softly, his mouth close to Tay's ear. "We thought we should sit with you. Keep you company." Tay said nothing. Students in nearby seats glanced over, then looked away. Nobody wanted trouble. The lights dimmed. The assembly was starting. On the stage, the station director began speaking about unity and cooperation among species. His words echoed through the hall, translated into every language by the floating screens. Behind Tay, Quex leaned even closer. "Are you listening to this, human?" Unity. Cooperation. But how can we cooperate with a species that's barely evolved, that lives in holes in the ground like animals? Tay watched the stage. He focused on the director's words, trying to ignore Quex. "My friend asked you a question," one of the other Velcrin hissed. "Are you too stupid to answer?" Still, Tay remained silent. Quex's hand touched Tay's shoulder. Just a light touch, barely pressure. "You know what I think? I think humans aren't special at all. I think you're just lucky. Lucky that your planet didn't kill you all. Lucky that the council felt sorry for you. Lucky to be here." The touch on Tay's shoulder grew heavier. Tay's body registered it as a threat. His training kicked in, showing him exactly where each Velcrin was positioned, showing him their weak points, their vulnerable joints, the hollow spaces in their bodies where important organs sat unprotected. All of this happened in a fraction of a second, automatic as breathing. But Tay pushed it down. He had promised himself. He had promised Suji and Hana. He would not be the one to start violence. "I wonder," Quex continued, his voice growing louder, "if we should test the human. Right here, right now. Show everyone what Deathworlders are really like. Show them that you're nothing special." The Velcrin in front of Ty turned around, blocking his view of the stage. "Stand up, human. Tell everyone that your species is inferior. Tell them that Earth should never have been allowed in the Galactic Council." "Do it now," Quex added. The pressure on Tay's shoulder increased. Around them, other students were starting to notice. Heads turned. Whispers spread. But the lights were dim, and the director was still speaking on stage. Security hadn't noticed yet. Tay took a slow breath. "No," he said quietly. "What did you say?" Quex's voice had an edge now. "I said no." Tay's voice was calm but clear. "I won't do that." "Then maybe we'll make you." The Velcrin named Nex, sitting to Tay's right, reached over. His hand gripped Tay's shoulder, fingers digging in. "Stand up." And that's when everything changed. The grip on Tay's shoulder was not just a touch anymore. It was restraint. It was physical force meant to control his movement. And according to Earth's self-defense protocols, according to the laws that Tay had studied, according to his own body's deep survival instincts, that was assault. Tay's mind went very clear. Very cold. Time seemed to slow down. He could see 3 options. He could continue to endure and hope security would notice, but Nex's grip was getting tighter, and Tay could feel the alien's intention to escalate. He could shout for help, but in the dark hall with thousands of voices it might not be heard in time. Or he could act. His body already knew what to do. Years of training in the underground shelters where humans learned to fight in close quarters in the dark, against things that wanted to kill them. His muscles knew the movements. His bones knew the angles. Tay remained perfectly still in his seat. To anyone watching, he looked completely frozen. His hand stayed folded in his lap. His posture didn't change. His face showed nothing, but inside his body everything moved. It was a technique called compression strike. Humans could tense specific muscles in sequence, creating a wave of force that traveled through the body. It took years to master. It was designed for situations where you couldn't telegraph your movement, where surprise was your only advantage. Tay compressed the muscles in his core, then his shoulder, then his neck. The force built up like a spring, coiling tighter and tighter. Then, with a movement so small and so fast that the human eye couldn't track it, he released it. His head snapped backward a fraction of an inch. Just a fraction. Barely visible. But it was enough. The back of Tay's skull, dense bone hardened by Earth's heavy gravity, connected with Nex's face. The impact was precise, calculated, and devastating. There was a crack, not loud. Just a small sound like a stick breaking. Nex's hand fell away from Tay's shoulder. For a moment, nothing happened. Tay sat perfectly still, exactly as he had been before. His hands were still folded, his posture unchanged. But behind him, Nex made a strange gurgling sound. Quex jumped up. "Nex, what's wrong?" The lights in the hall brightened suddenly. The assembly had ended. Students were starting to stand and talk, and in the growing light, everyone could see Nex. The Velcrin was slumped in his seat, his head at an angle that was very wrong. His forearms hung limp. His large eyes stared at nothing. "What did you do?" Quex shouted at Tay. "What did you do?" Other students turned to look. Someone screamed. The sound echoed through the hall. Tay stood up slowly. He looked at Nex, at the damage he had caused, and felt a deep sadness. He had never wanted this. Never wanted to hurt anyone. "I defended myself," Tay said quietly. "He grabbed me. I reacted." Security arrived within seconds, their uniforms bright against the chaos. More students were screaming now. Teachers were trying to restore order. Medical teams rushed toward Nex with equipment and scanners. "Don't move!" a security officer shouted at Tay. "Hands where I can see them!" Tay raised his hands slowly, keeping his movements careful and non-threatening. "I'm not resisting," he said. "I acted in self-defense. He grabbed me and wouldn't let go." "That's not possible," Quex was shouting. "He didn't even move. We were just sitting here and suddenly Nex was hurt. The human must have done something." More security arrived. They surrounded Tay, weapons drawn but not aimed. They looked confused, frightened even. This human had severely injured a Velcrin student without appearing to move at all. The chief of security, a large alien with 6 legs and compound eyes, approached carefully. "Student Tay of Earth," he said formally. "You are being detained for assault. Come with us now." "I understand," Tay said. He walked forward, keeping his hands visible. As he passed Quex, the Velcrin backed away, fear clear in his eyes. Behind them, the medical team was working on Nex. Tay heard one of them say something about spinal damage, about paralysis, about how Velcrin bodies weren't designed to withstand that kind of impact force. Tay closed his eyes briefly as security led him away. He had done exactly what he had trained to do. He had defended himself efficiently and effectively, but the cost was higher than he had imagined. As they walked through the corridors toward the detention area, Tay saw other students pressing against the walls, staring at him. Some looked scared, some looked angry, some looked curious, and in the crowd he saw Suji. Their eyes met for just a moment. She nodded once, a small gesture of understanding. Then she was gone. The detention cell was designed for dangerous species. Reinforced walls, energy barriers, constant monitoring. They placed Ty inside and sealed the door. He sat down on the bench and looked at his hands. They were steady. His body was calm, but his mind was racing. What would happen now? Would they believe it was self-defense? Would they understand that he had shown restraint, that he could have done so much worse? And the question that hurt most, had he failed? Had he proven that humans were as dangerous as everyone feared? Tay lay back on the bench and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in the station, Nex was fighting for his life. And it was because of Tay. Because of a single moment when patience had run out and survival instinct had taken over. The cell's lights hummed softly. Tay closed his eyes and waited to see what judgment would come. The first 3 days in detention were silent. Security brought Tay food and water, but nobody spoke to him. Through the energy barrier of his cell, he could see guards watching him constantly, as if he might suddenly become violent. He didn't. Tay spent his time sitting quietly, exercising in the small space and thinking, mostly thinking about Nex, about whether the Velkrin would survive, about whether Ty could have done something different. On the 4th day, Suji came. "You have a visitor," the guard announced. The energy barrier flickered off for a moment, letting Suji step inside, then reactivated behind her. "How are you?" Suji asked, sitting down beside him on the bench. "I'm okay," Tay said. "How is Nex?" Suji's face was serious. "He's alive, but he's paralyzed from the neck down. The medical team says it's permanent. Velkrin spines don't heal the way ours do." Tay closed his eyes. "I didn't want that." "I know." Suji put a hand on his shoulder. "The investigation team has been reviewing everything. They've watched the security footage hundreds of times. They're trying to understand what you did. What I did was defend myself. I believe you. Hana believes you. We've given them all the recordings of the harassment, all the documentation." Suji leaned back against the wall. "But the Galactic Council is involved now. This is bigger than just a station incident. They're investigating humans as a species." "What does that mean?" "It means they're scared, Tay. They're realizing that they don't understand what Deathworld species are really capable of." Suji looked at him with tired eyes. "They've sent investigators to Earth. They're talking to our military, our scientists, our government. They want to know everything about human combat abilities." The next week brought a parade of officials. Investigators from the Galactic Council came to question Tay. They asked him to explain exactly what he did, how he struck Nex without appearing to move. Where he learned such techniques, Tay answered honestly. He explained the compression strike. He demonstrated the muscle movements slowly so they could understand. He told them about the training all humans received in the underground shelters, how to fight in close quarters when there was no room to swing a punch. The investigators looked more worried after each answer. "And this is standard training?" one of them asked. "All humans learn this?" "Basic training, yes," Tay said. "For self-defense." "Self-defense," the investigator repeated, making notes. "On Earth, what do you need to defend yourself from?" "Everything," Tay said simply. "Earth is dangerous. There are storms that can destroy buildings, diseases that can kill in hours, animals that hunt in packs, plants that are poisonous. Even the air and water can be dangerous in some places. Humans have to be able to defend themselves." The investigators exchanged looks. One of them, a being made of flowing energy, spoke in a voice like distant thunder. "And you consider what you did to be defensive? Not aggressive?" "Yes," Tay said firmly. "I sat still for weeks while they harassed me. I never responded to insults. I never retaliated when they destroyed my property. I only acted when Nex physically restrained me. That is the definition of self-defense." More meetings followed. Suji testified about the harassment she had witnessed. Hana presented her recordings showing every incident from the past weeks. Other students who had seen the bullying were called to give statements, but the Velkrin delegation had their own arguments. Quex's father was an important council member, and he arrived at the station with lawyers and demands for justice. "This human attacked my son's friend without provocation," he declared in the station's council chamber. "Nex is permanently disabled because of this violence. The human must be punished." Young Wu, Earth's ambassador, arrived 2 weeks after the incident. He was an older man with silver hair and calm eyes. He met with Tay privately before the main hearing. "Tell me what happened," Young Wu said. "Everything." Don't leave anything out, Tay told him. The harassment. The escalation. The moment in the assembly hall when everything went wrong. Young Wu listened without interrupting. When Tay finished, the ambassador was quiet for a long time. Did you know, Young Wu finally said, that you followed protocol perfectly? Every step of escalation, you took the appropriate response. You documented. You reported. You showed restraint. You only acted when physical force was used against you. Then why do I feel like I failed? Tay asked. Because you're a good person who didn't want to hurt anyone, Young Wu said. But you need to understand something, Tay. This isn't your failure. This is the Council's failure, the station's failure. They put a Deathworld species in close quarters with species who have no understanding of what that means. They ignored warnings. They dismissed documentation. They let the situation build until it exploded. What will happen to me? That depends on whether the Council is wise enough to see the truth, Young Wu said. But I promise you this. Earth will not abandon you. We will fight for you. The formal hearing took place in the station's largest council chamber. Tay sat at a table with Young Wu beside him. Across from them sat Quex's father and the Velcrin legal team. In the center, a panel of 5 council members would decide Tay's fate. The Velcrin presented their case first. They showed images of Nex in medical care, unable to move, dependent on machines for basic functions. They argued that Tay was a danger to everyone on the station. This human used deadly force in a public space, Quex's father said. He could have killed Nex. He showed no mercy, no restraint. Then it was Earth's turn. Young Wu stood and activated the main screen. Let me show you what restraint actually looks like. He played the recordings. Every incident of harassment. Every time Tay was insulted, pushed, blocked, threatened. Every time he stayed calm and walked away. This, Young Wu said, is restraint. For weeks, Tay endured treatment that would have caused most species to respond violently. He followed every rule. He reported every incident. He tried every peaceful option. The ambassador then showed footage from Earth's military training centers, humans practicing combat techniques. The council members watched in silence as they saw what humans could really do when they weren't holding back. A human at full combat capacity can generate enough force to break steel, Young Wu explained. Our bones are dense enough to withstand impacts that would shatter most species. Our muscles can contract fast enough to create sonic shock waves. Tay didn't use any of that. He used the minimum force necessary to stop an assault. But the victim is paralyzed, one of the council members protested. Yes, Young Wu said sadly, because Velcrin are fragile compared to humans. Their spines are not designed to handle impacts. But Tay didn't know that. He used a standard defensive technique. How could he know it would cause permanent damage? Young Wu pulled up more data. Medical scans comparing Velcrin and human anatomy. Studies on the effects of Earth's environment on human evolution. Reports from exobiologists about the unique dangers of Deathworld species. The real question, Young Wu said, is why this information wasn't shared with students before putting them together. Why weren't there safety protocols? Why wasn't there proper education about species differences? The council members shifted uncomfortably. The ambassador had made his point. The investigation report came 3 days later. A team of specialists had analyzed everything. The videos, the witness statements, the medical data, the training records. Their conclusion was clear. Tay had acted in self-defense. The force he used was measured and controlled compared to what he was capable of. The harassment had been systematic and ignored by station authorities. And most importantly, the incident could have been prevented if proper safety protocols had existed. But there was more. The investigators had discovered something that shocked everyone. The compression strike that Tay used, the head investigator explained to the council, is classified as a non-lethal defensive technique by human standards. It's taught to children on Earth as a way to escape from dangerous situations. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Children? One council member repeated. Your children learn this? Yes, Young Wu confirmed. On Earth, children face predators, environmental hazards, and other threats. They need to be able to defend themselves. This is normal for us. The realization spread through the chamber like cold water. Humans weren't just strong. They weren't just dangerous. They were so adapted to violence that they taught their children techniques that could cripple other species. The final ruling came 1 week later. Tay was found not guilty. The council ruled that he had acted in legitimate self-defense after exhausting all peaceful options. No charges would be filed. Quex and his friends, however, faced serious consequences. They were expelled from the academy and charged with systematic harassment and assault. Quex's father, embarrassed and angry, took his son back to their home world. But the ruling came with conditions. Tay would be released, but new protocols would be implemented for all Deathworld species at the academy. Separate training facilities. Mandatory education for all students about species differences. Better oversight from station security. When they finally opened Tai's cell and told him he was free, he walked out slowly. His legs felt weak after so many days of confinement. Suji and Hana were waiting outside. "You're free," Suji said, but she didn't smile. "But things are different now." "How different?" Tay asked. "Come see," Hana said. They walked through the station corridors. Everywhere they went, other students moved out of their way. Some stared, some whispered. Some looked frightened. Tay wasn't seen as the quiet human anymore. He was seen as the Deathworlder who broke someone without moving, the one who could kill with a thought. That night, Tay sat in his room and sent a message to his brother Jin on Earth. "I'm coming home," he wrote. "Tell Mom and Dad I'm okay. Tell them I'm sorry. And tell them the galaxy isn't ready for us yet." The station felt different after the ruling. Tay was technically free to return to his classes, to resume his life as a student. But nothing was the same. On his first day back, Tay walked into galactic history class. The professor stopped mid-sentence. Every head turned to look at him. And then, slowly, deliberately, students moved their seats away from him. They created an empty circle around his usual spot, a clear zone that said, "Dangerous, stay away." Tay sat down in the middle of that circle and opened his datapad. The lesson continued, but he could feel the fear radiating from his classmates. It was worse than the hatred from Quex. At least hatred was an emotion you could work with. Fear was a wall. After class, the professor called him aside.
"Tay," she said gently, "I want you to know that I believe you did the right thing.
But I think it might be best if you considered remote attendance for a while. Give the other students time to adjust." "You want me to stay away?" Tay said flatly. "I want everyone to feel safe," the professor corrected. "And right now your presence makes that difficult." Tay nodded and left. What else could he do? The new protocols that the council implemented started appearing everywhere. Signs in multiple languages warned about Deathworld species safety zones. The exercise facility was now divided by species classification. Even the cafeteria had separate seating areas. "It's segregation," Hana said angrily when she met with Tai and Suji in the human quarters. "They're treating us like we're contaminated." "They're scared," Suji said. "And scared people do stupid things, and what about next?" Tay asked. He had been wondering this every day since the ruling. "How is he?" Suji looked down at her hands. "I visited him yesterday. He's in long-term medical care. The doctors say he'll never walk again, never move on his own. He'll need assistance for everything for the rest of his life." The words hit Tay like a physical blow. He had known this, but hearing it confirmed made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "I need to see him," Tay said suddenly. "That's not a good idea," Hana protested. "His family is still angry. They might—" "I need to see him," Tay repeated. "Please, it took 3 days to arrange. Station security had to approve it. Nex's family had to agree. Finally, they allowed Tai a short supervised visit. The medical center was quiet and sterile. Tay walked through the halls with 2 security guards following him. They brought him to a private room where Nex lay in a special bed designed for Velcrin physiology. The young Velcrin looked smaller somehow. His forearms lay motionless at his sides. His large eyes tracked Tay as he entered, but his body remained still. "Hello, Nex," Tay said quietly. He stood at the foot of the bed, keeping his distance. "I asked to come here because I need to say something to you." Nex said nothing. He couldn't speak much anymore. The injury had affected his breathing. "I'm sorry," Tay continued. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted any of this to happen. I wish I could take it back. I wish I had found another way." Still, Nex was silent. But Tay saw something in his eyes. Not forgiveness, not friendship, but perhaps a small understanding. "I want you to know that I'm leaving," Tay said. "I'm going back to Earth. I don't belong here. Maybe humans don't belong out here at all yet." This time, Nex made a sound, a small noise that might have been agreement, or maybe just acknowledgement that he had heard. Tay stood there for a moment longer, then bowed slightly, a gesture of respect from his culture. "I hope you find peace," he said. Then he turned and left. That evening, Tay went to Young Woo's office. The ambassador was packing up, preparing to return to Earth himself. "I want to withdraw from the academy," Tay told him. "I want to go home." Young Woo stopped packing and looked at him carefully. "Are you sure? The council has given you full clearance. You could stay, finish your education, and be treated like a monster?" Tay shook his head. "No, this isn't what I came here for. I came to learn, to build bridges between humans and aliens. But all I've done is prove that we're as dangerous as they feared." "That's not true," Young Woo said firmly. "You showed remarkable restraint. You proved that humans can control their capabilities, that we can coexist peacefully." "Until we can't," Tay countered. "Until someone pushes too far and we react. That's always going to be the fear, isn't it? That one day we'll snap and show what we're really capable of." Young Woo sat down heavily in his chair. "You're not wrong. The council has been in emergency session since the incident. They're debating whether to restrict human participation in galactic institutions. Some want us quarantined to our own system." "Maybe they should," Tay said quietly. "Don't say that." The ambassador's voice was sharp. "Don't let them make you feel ashamed of what you are. Yes, humans are dangerous. Yes, we evolved on a world that made us into survivors. But that doesn't mean we don't deserve a place among the stars. Then what do we do?" Young Woo stood and walked to the window, looking out at the vast space beyond. "We learn, we teach. We show them that strength and wisdom can coexist. But more importantly, we make sure that what happened to you never happens again. The council has agreed to implement comprehensive Deathworld species education. Every station, every academy, every shared space will have proper protocols. Your pain, Nex's pain, won't be meaningless if it leads to real change." Tay joined him at the window. "Will it be enough?" "I don't know," Young Woo admitted. "But it's a start." The paperwork for Tay's withdrawal took a week to process. In that time, he said his goodbyes. Suji hugged him and made him promise to stay in touch. Hana gave him copies of all her research, hoping he might continue studying alien cultures from Earth. On his last night on the station, Tay returned to the observation deck where he had stood on his first day. The stars looked the same, beautiful and distant, but he was different now. He had learned things about himself, about his species, about the galaxy that he couldn't unlearn. "Thought I'd find you here." Tay turned. It was one of the Pixon students from his combat class, the small furry creature he had been paired with. Her name was Pip. "I wanted to say goodbye," Pip said in her high, chirping voice, "and to say thank you." "Thank you?" Tay was confused. "For what?" "For showing us that the quiet ones are the ones to respect," Pip said. "After what happened, everyone started treating me differently too. I'm small, from a peaceful world. Everyone always pushed me around. But now they wonder if I have hidden strengths too. It's nice." Tay smiled sadly. "I'm glad something good came from it." "Will you really never come back?" Pip asked. "I don't know," Tay said honestly. "Maybe someday when things are different. When humans and aliens understand each other better." "I hope so," Pip said. "The galaxy needs humans, even scary ones." She handed him a small chip. "This is from a bunch of us. Students who saw what Quex did to you, who felt bad for not helping. We recorded messages. So you know that not everyone was against you." Tay took the chip carefully. "Thank you, Pip. That means a lot." The next morning, Tay boarded the transport ship that would take him back to Earth. The journey would take 3 weeks. 3 weeks to process everything that had happened. 3 weeks to figure out who he was now. As the ship pulled away from the station, Tay looked back one last time. Somewhere in there, Nex was lying in his bed, trapped in a body that would never move again. Somewhere in there, students were learning new protocols about Deathworld species. Somewhere in there, the future was being shaped by what had happened. The ship engaged its faster-than-light drive, and the station disappeared. When Tay finally arrived on Earth, his family was waiting at the spaceport. His mother cried when she saw him. His father gripped his shoulder firmly. And Jin, his younger brother, looked at him with wide eyes full of questions. "Tell me everything," Jin said as they walked to the transport home. "What was it like? Did you see amazing things? Did you make friends?" Tay thought about how to answer. He could tell Jin about the beauty of the station, about the incredible diversity of species, about the technology and the learning. Or he could tell him about the loneliness, the fear, the moment when everything went wrong. "It was complicated," Tay finally said. The galaxy is amazing, Jin, but it's not ready for us yet. And maybe we're not ready for it. What do you mean? I mean, we're different from them in ways they don't understand. Ways we don't fully understand ourselves. We need to be careful. We need to be patient. That night, Tay stood on the roof of his family's shelter and looked up at the sky. The stars were harder to see here, through Earth's thick atmosphere and the lights of the city. But they were still there, still waiting. Somewhere up there, the galaxy was turning. Species were learning and growing and making decisions about humanity's place among them. And someday, maybe, humans would truly be ready to join them as equals, not as curiosities or threats, but as partners. But that day wasn't today. Tay went inside where his family was waiting, where Earth's gravity pressed comfortably on his shoulders, where the air smelled like home. He was done with the stars for now. But he knew he would look up at them again. 6 months later, Tay received a message from the Galactic Academy. They had erected a memorial in the Grand Hall where the incident had occurred. It was a simple plaque with words in every major galactic language. Tay read the translation. Strength is not the absence of restraint, but the choice to exercise it. Let this place be where all species learn that lesson before it's too late. Below that was a list of changes implemented because of what happened. New safety protocols, mandatory species education, better security oversight, counseling services for harassment victims, and most importantly, a promise that no student would be left alone to face systematic abuse again. It wasn't enough to fix everything. It wasn't enough to give Nex his body back or to erase the fear that now colored how aliens saw humans. But it was something. A step forward. An acknowledgement that mistakes had been made and lessons had been learned. Tay saved the message and went back to his studies. He was enrolled in Earth's Diplomatic Corps training program now, learning how to be a bridge between humans and aliens, learning how to help both sides understand each other better, because the galaxy needed humans, and humans needed the galaxy. They just had to figure out how to coexist without anyone getting hurt. It would take time. It would take patience. It would take humans like Tay who were willing to try again even after failing. But Tay had time. And if there was one thing humans were good at, it was surviving long enough to learn from their mistakes. He looked up at the stars one more time, then smiled. Someday he would go back. But next time things would be different. Next time he would be ready. And maybe, just maybe, they would be ready for him too.